So picture this. You're standing in a supermarket queue, right? It's been a long way. You're almost there. Then suddenly you get this unpleasant sensation starting in your throat. Your chest feels tighter, maybe a sudden shortness of breath. And then, boom, your heart sinks a beat. And you're thinking, oh, please, God, not here. Who? You look around. Four kind of unfriendly faces behind you. One person still ahead. Pins and needles start prickling your left arm. You feel a bit dizzy. And then just this explosion of fear. You know it. This is going to be a big one. You try to focus, remembering all those coping techniques you've learned. Deep breathing, in through the nose, out through the mouth. Think relaxing thoughts, beach, waves, but it's just not working. Actually, concentrating on the breathing. It's making you more self-conscious, more uptight. Okay, plan B. Gradual muscle relaxation. Tense shoulders, hold, release. Still nothing, no difference. The anxiety is actually getting worse, and the fact that techniques failed just makes the panic worse. You really wish you were with family or a close friend right then. The adrenaline is just pumping now. Your whole body is tingling with these weird, uncomfortable sensations. And that dreaded feeling, like you're going to lose complete control, it just washes over you. And nobody around you has a clue, right? They have no idea the sheer terror you're feeling. For them, it's just another day, another frustratingly slow queue. You feel like you're out of options. Time for plan C, flee, get out. You mumble an excuse, leave the queue, feeling embarrassed because it's your turn to pay. The cashier looks bewildered, as you just leave your shopping there and bolt for the door. No time for excuses, you just need to be alone. You get to your car, just need to write it out. You wonder, could this be the one? The one that pushes you over the edge. 10 minutes later, it starts to subside. The panic fades. It's 10:30 in the morning. How are you possibly going to make it through the rest of the day? Does this situation sound, at all familiar to you? Maybe the feelings were a bit different for you. Maybe it happened on a plane or at the dentist. Or maybe even at home, doing nothing much at all. If you've ever had what we call a panic attack, honestly, take some comfort because you are absolutely not alone. Almost 5% of the American population suffers from some form of anxiety disorder. That's a lot of people. So today we're taking a deep dive into a really extraordinary approach to understanding and maybe eliminating panic attacks and general anxiety. We're sourcing this directly from a powerful guide called Panic Away. Our mission here is to unpack what panic attacks really are at their core, bust some common myths surrounding them, and introduce you to a simple but apparently profoundly effective technique known as the one move.
Mhm.
This approach promises not just to help you cope, but actually end the cycle of panic, help you regain a more carefree, confident life. Okay, let's unpack this then. What exactly is anxiety? The Panic Away Guide defines it as a state of apprehension or fear, and it results from anticipating a threat, whether that threat is real or just imagined. It's a basic human emotion, right? But for people who experience extreme anxiety or panic attacks, its terrifying nature is often really misunderstood.
Yeah, and what's fascinating here, I think, is how our understanding of anxiety often misses a really crucial point. While it feels incredibly unpleasant, truly awful, anxiety itself isn't dangerous. One of the biggest myths the guide tackles is this idea that it's harmful or that it can lead to life-threatening conditions. It just doesn't.
Right. And our sources explain the fight-flight response pretty clearly. It's like this built-in protective mechanism. It was absolutely vital for our ancient ancestors, wasn't it? Got them ready for immediate action when facing danger. And even today, in our hectic world, it's still a necessary thing for actual threats. Like if you suddenly have to react fast, swerve to avoid a car accident or something.
Exactly. And if we look at the bigger picture, the only purpose of anxiety is to protect us from harm. That's it. It's a mechanism that protects, it doesn't harm. The body's primary goal always is just keeping you alive and well. Think about it. You can try holding your breath for as long as you possibly can, right? But eventually, your body will just override your willpower. It forces you to breathe. In the same way, the guide points out there has never, ever been a reported incident of someone actually dying from a panic attack.
And yet, the physical feelings, the manifestations of a panic attack, they're often misinterpreted as something truly, truly terrifying. Let's break down some of those sensations. First, the chemical effect. So, when you're confronted with perceived danger, your sympathetic nervous system, that's your body's fight or flight alarm, it primes the body for action, releases adrenaline. Then, the parasympathetic nervous system, think of that as your internal calm down, switch it works to restore peace. But it's an all or nothing effect, which is why a panic attack causes all these different sensations all over the body all at once. And adrenaline, it can linger a bit, which explains why you might feel anxious even after the main panic peak. But here's the really crucial part. the parasympathetic system will eventually kick in. It has to. The body just cannot continue in an ever-increasing spiral of anxiety. It has to relax eventually. Then you've got the cardiovascular effects. Your heartbeat speeds up, blood flow increases, oxygen gets pumped where it's needed. But here's a kind of weird feature. Blood actually drains from places it's not urgently needed, like your skin, your fingers, your toes. And it moves to the active areas, like your thighs and biceps, ready for action. This is why a lot of people feel numbness and tingling during a panic attack, and it's often mistaken for, a heart attack symptom. Of course, if you're genuinely worried about your heart, please do get checked out by a doctor. Get that peace of mind. One of the scariest things for many people is the respiratory effects, that feeling of suffocating or smothering. It comes from breathing faster and deeper. Now, this prepares the body for action, but it produces feelings of breathlessness, maybe hyperventilation, chest tightness. But can a panic attack actually stop your breathing?
No, absolutely not. The body won't let that happen.
Right. And a side effect of all this extra breathing, especially if you're not actually running or fighting, is a slight, totally harmless decrease in blood to the head. And that can lead to dizziness, blurred vision, maybe confusion, or that strange sense of unreality. And finally, there are other physical effects too. Your pupils might widen, maybe causing you to see stars. Your mouth goes dry. Digestive activity slows right down, which can lead to nausea or heavy feeling in your stomach, even constipation later. Muscles tense up, you might tremble or shake. Overall, the whole fight-flight response just leaves you feeling hot, flushed, and then afterwards really tired and drained.
So this brings up a really important question, doesn't it? Why is this powerful fight-flight response kicking in during a panic attack when there's, well, seemingly nothing real to be frightened of? The guide explains that what we're actually afraid of are the sensations themselves. It's the fear that the body is losing control. Our thinking minds, they just panic and overreact. A quickened heartbeat suddenly becomes, I'm having a heart attack. An overactive mind feels like a close shave with schizophrenia, as the book puts it. We're basically just diagnosing from poor information, aren't we? Misinterpreting totally natural bodily reactions as imminent danger. So the key takeaway here is really that while these sensations feel terrifying, they are just your body's natural, completely harmless responses. They're not signs of impending doom. It's our interpretation of those feelings that actually creates the panic itself.
And where do these initial symptoms even come from? Sometimes it's just general stress, right? Or maybe diet, too much caffeine, alcohol, sugar. Unresolved emotions can be a trigger too. But the book really focuses on your reaction to these sensations, not necessarily digging deep into their origin story, because the technique it teaches works right there in the present moment of panic. So you might be thinking, am I going crazy? That's such a common fear. Let's tackle some of these common misconceptions head on. When panic attacks first hit, it's totally understandable to worry about mental illness, especially something serious like schizophrenia. But schizophrenia usually involves things like really disjointed thoughts and speech, delusions, hallucinations, and it typically starts very gradually, not suddenly during a panic attack. Plus, it seems to be largely genetic, often showing up first in the late teens or early 20s. So if you're, say, over 25 and haven't had any symptoms like that before, the guide reassures that it's highly, highly unlikely. Then there's that awful fear of losing control. This can mean losing bodily control, worrying your vital organs will just go haywire. Or maybe mentally losing your grip, like having thoughts of steering your car into someone or harming a loved one.
Which are just thoughts, not actions.
Exactly, the guide says, put your mind at rest. You are not going to commit any of these acts. We're social animals. We dread social embarrassment, sure. But even if you cause a scene, does it really truly matter in the grand scheme? Life is just too short to constantly worry about keeping up appearances. Be kind to yourself through it. A lot of people also fear passing out in public, that feeling of vulnerability. But passing out, fainting, it's caused by a lack of blood to the brain. Fainting during a panic attack is actually really uncommon precisely because of the increased blood circulation and fast heart rate your body is experiencing. The dizziness you feel, that's mostly from the breathing changes, it's harmless, and it doesn't lead to fainting. Okay, heart attacks. This is a huge one for many people. The guide differentiates clearly. Heart disease symptoms are generally linked to physical effort, and they usually go away with rest. And they produce major electrical changes on EKG, that heart monitor thing. Panic symptoms, though, often happen when you're resting, and they only show a slight increase in heart rate on an EKG. Your body's innate intelligence just won't allow your heart to stop beating simply because you're worrying about it. But again, if you are worried, getting an EKG can really help put your mind at ease. And finally, there's a less discussed symptom, unreality or disconnectedness. Hmm. That weird sensation of feeling detached from the world, almost like.
Like watching a film.
Yeah, as if the world has become nothing more than a projection of a film, as the guide puts it. This is just a side effect of the excessive anxiety caused by all those stress chemicals floating around. And it will pass as soon as the body learns to relax and clears those chemicals out. Okay, so here's where it gets, well, really interesting, I think. The sources we're diving into, especially Panic Away, offer a pretty radical departure from the traditional coping mechanisms. The ones that frame anxiety as this battle you have to win. The author calls this new approach the one move and promises it can completely eliminate panic attacks.
Yeah, the traditional approach often teaches us to cope or beat anxiety, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Using techniques almost like weapons in a fight. But the core truth this guide reveals is, well, there is no real attack.
Yeah.
And there's no attacker. Panic attacks fundamentally are not threatening or dangerous. They're just an awareness, a hyper-awareness maybe, of a series of heightened bodily sensations. So that begs the question, if there's no actual threat, why are we fighting so hard?
The guide uses a car crash analogy, which I found helpful. If a car's about to hit you, you perceive imminent danger and react instantly, automatically. Fight or flight kicks in for a real reason. But with a panic attack, there's no external threat like that. Think about it. You've likely had countless panic attacks, maybe felt petrified each time, but you always emerged unscathed, alive and physically undamaged. The real issue, the guide suggests, isn't the panic attack itself, but the fear of the damage that you think a panic attack is going to cause.
Exactly. And this is where the whole paradigm shift comes in. It's quite profound, actually. The answer, the guide proposes, came from observing nature. A tree bends with the strong wind, right? A river flows around a rock in its path. Nature never struggles against these forces, and that is the key insight. Instead of fighting the sensations, we need to learn to flow with it. Become the observer of the fear and anxiety, not its victim. The guide states quite clearly, there is no panic if there is no perceived threat.
I like the roller coaster analogy too. A panic attack and a roller coaster ride can both be pretty exhilarating experiences, physiologically speaking. They excite our nervous system. But on a roller coaster, it's not actually life-threatening. You trust the structure, the process. We need to somehow adopt that same attitude towards panic attacks, recognizing that it's only our interpretation that makes one terrifying and the other fun. So what does that mean in practical terms? How do we actually do that? The Panic Away method suggests that if you can manage to embrace the fear, if you can let the emotions and those intense sensations just run freely through you, rather than shutting down or fighting back, then your fear immediately starts to subside. The sensations become just that. Sensations. Intense, yes, but just sensations. Okay, so let's outline the steps for you, our listener. This is the core of the one move technique. Step 1, embrace and accept the fear. When those first initial sensations start to arise, stop what you are doing, if possible. Maybe find a comfortable place where you can be alone for a few minutes, but this time, you're not gearing up for battle. Instead, you're going to try to invite and welcome the fear. Send it a mental message, something like, okay, you're here. I'm glad you've come to visit. I'm sending you a warm welcome. Try to treat it like an old, albeit uncomfortable friend. Be firm. Just watch as the feeling of fear rises and maybe draws nearer. Step 2, observe and do not react. Just let the fear wash over you. Try to feel each sensation in detail, but detachedly, like watching waves crash on the shore. They come, they peak, they recede. Remember, the guide suggests the approximate time frame of an individual panic attack is usually around 20 minutes, peak to finish. Okay, then comes the most crucial step. Step 3, perform the one move. There will likely come a point where you feel really overwhelmed, where that instinct to fight or run away gets strong. This is the vital moment, when the panic feels like it's just about to spin completely out of control and your confidence in just observing starts to waver. You have to demand more. I know, you're probably thinking you must be kidding me.
Right. It sounds crazy.
But this is the absolute vital point, according to the guide. Demand more. Scream it out loud if you need to. Let the anxiety know that you want to experience the very worst it can possibly throw at you. Challenge it. The author provides some mantras you could try. Adapt them to your own feelings. Things like, okay, I feel anxious, but now show me what it feels like to be really, really anxious. Or, show me how it feels if my throat and chest feel even tighter than this. Maybe. I can feel a real knot in my stomach, but I wonder what it would be like if it were much tighter. Go on, can't you make it tighter? Is that honestly the most you can offer me? Or even, I notice all kinds of fearful thoughts circling around my mind. Okay, make them faster. Aren't there any more scary ones you can throw at me?
This request for more. It's probably the most empowering statement you can possibly make in that moment. It sends a crystal clear message. You are calling fear's bluff. You're showing it and yourself that you are still in control. And fear, well, it can't actually deliver on that request for more. It gets confused, apparently. It has no option but to collapse and dissipate. Think of it like this. Fear feeds off fear. By demanding more, you're essentially extinguishing its fuel source.
And the guide suggests that when you do this correctly, the results can be almost instantaneous. You'll actually feel that turning point as your parasympathetic nervous system finally kicks in and starts restoring calm. You'll realize there was no abyss you fell into, no cliff you tumbled off, all of it. It was nothing more than a series of intense but ultimately harmless physical sensations. Now, as you're winding down from the peak, those fearful thoughts might try to creep back in. Make a comeback attempt. The advice is don't let them engage you. Don't get drawn back into the story. Just observe them, again, like clouds passing overhead. Acknowledge them, let them go. And maybe adopt a daily mantra, something like, I can handle any situation life throws my way.
To really cement this freedom from fear, the guide uses this metaphor. You have to metaphorically jump off the cliff edge that scares you so much. Jump right into all the things you fear most about the panic. This jump is the act of inviting more of the fear, demanding more, and your safety net. It's the solid medical fact that a panic attack itself will never harm you. That abyss you feared. It was an illusion created by fear. In essence, the guide argues if you actively, voluntarily seek out the sensations of a panic attack each day, you literally cannot have one in the same uncontrolled way. You're bursting that bubble of fear that distorts your perception. You're taking a pin of your will and desire and challenging the panic attack directly.
So what makes this one move so uniquely powerful, maybe more than just simple observation or a distraction, is this internal movement towards the anxiety. Anxiety is fundamentally illogical, isn't it? So the solution needs to be equally illogical in a way. You do the exact opposite of what every instinct screams at you to do. You don't fight it, you invite it. Okay, so what does this all mean for you, the listener, in your day-to-day life? The Panic Away Guide gives some really concrete examples of how you can apply this one-move technique to common anxiety triggers. Let's take driving with anxiety. So many people struggle with this. Common fears include being trapped in traffic, maybe going over bridges, or just losing control of the car. But interestingly, the guide points out, many phobic drivers actually have spotless driving records. They're often more vigilant than other drivers, less likely to be daydreaming because they're so focused, albeit fearfully.
And that raises a good point. Is there really any driving situation where you are truly, completely trapped? Usually, no. Traffic eventually moves. There's almost always an exit, a shoulder, somewhere to pull over if you absolutely had to. The guide really emphasizes that counteracting these specific fears with logical, practical solutions helps undermine fear's grip.
Our source shares Lindsay's story as a really powerful example. Her fear of driving was basically crippling her life. Highways were a nightmare. Even the school run was terrifying. She described getting in her car and eventually finding the courage to yell out loud, "Bring it on! If you are going to terrorize me, come on and do your worst." Her whole attitude just did a complete U-turn. She went from being terrified by the slightest weird sensation to, as she put it, not giving a breeze. She had this realization, look, if it's not actually going to kill me, then let me just get on with my life. Then there's a fear of leaving home, which we often call agoraphobia. It's usually defined as the fear of open spaces or maybe crowded public places. And it's often linked to that feeling of vulnerability, of being too far away from a perceived safe zone, usually home.
But the guide argues pretty strongly that the safe zone is really just a myth that's sustained by the mind, a mental construct. Since there's nothing inherently life-threatening about a panic attack itself, sitting at home experiencing anxiety is physiologically the same as sitting under the stars on a desert island experiencing anxiety. You're still alive. You're still fundamentally well. After all those attacks, you've already survived.
Sylvia's story in the guide is quite moving. She was apparently housebound for 5 years. She described feeling like a prisoner of her own mind. Then one day on a rare shopping trip, she felt panic rising and caught herself thinking, I am going to die if I do not get home right now. But then she made a quick mental U-turn. She said to the panic, no, come on, panic. Let's have it. Let's have the best you got and make it snappy. I've got curtains to buy. And she described it like a bubble just burst. She shifted into being the school teacher, keeping the unruly kids, her thoughts, under control. And that shift was the beginning of her recovery. Okay, next up, the fear of flying. This is another really common one. It often involves the fear of like an internal bomb going off at 30,000 feet or intense claustrophobia. Your new approach, according to the Panic Away method, is to board the plane not just hoping you'll stay calm, but almost hoping, or at least being willing, to experience the anxiety you fear. You're actively, willingly trying to entice those sensations to come out.
Exactly. So instead of thinking, oh God, please not now, red alert, Your new internal dialogue is something like, ah, there you are. I was kind of expecting you to show up today. Well, okay, show me what you got. I am ready, I'm waiting, and frankly, I'm interested to observe. Hmm. When you feel that rush of adrenaline, just notice its wave-like effect. It rises, it peaks, and it passes relatively quickly. By choosing not to react with fear, it just becomes bodily sensations, minus the actual panic. The guide also gives some practical tips, too, like maybe having a prescription relaxant in your bag just for peace of mind, even if you don't use it. Staying hydrated is important, and maybe quietly informing the cabin crew they're usually very experienced with nervous flyers.
Stephen's case study really illustrates this transformation. After his first ever panic attack, he developed this chronic, debilitating fear of flying. He started self-medicating with alcohol before every flight. He describes his first flight trying the one move. I remember crying out, it was just in my thoughts, to the anxiety to come and get me, do your worst. He said it felt like he was suddenly surfing the waves of fear rather than suffocating under them, and this led to this almost exhilarating feeling like childlike bravery rediscovered. Interestingly, tackling the fear of flying head-on actually made his fear of having panic attacks on solid ground start to disappear too. And finally, the fear of public speaking. You often hear this as a top fear, sometimes rated even higher than death. The core worry usually centers on having a panic attack during the speech and being completely incapacitated, unable to finish.
But the guide is very reassuring on this point. You will always finish your piece. You will not become incapacitated. The real breakthrough happens when you truly start to believe that you are not in any actual danger. So when that initial thought pops up, oh dear, not now, I'm about to speak, you immediately replace it. Replace it with something like, ah, there you are. I've been wondering when you would arrive. I've been expecting you. Actually, I'm not in the least threatened by you. I'm completely safe right here. Oh.
The guide also advises trying to push that nervous, emotional energy outward through your presentation. Use it. It can actually make you seem more alive, more energetic, more passionate. Robert, a CEO mentioned in the guide, had a panic attack during a big presentation. He initially thought it was a heart attack. After learning the one move, he approached presentations completely differently. He learned to welcome the sensations. He developed this deep sense of confidence, this grounding feeling, and his internal monologue shifted to, well, here we go again. You know what? I am too experienced and long in the tooth to be getting upset by these silly, fearful thoughts and sensations anymore. I'm just going to get on with what I am here to do. And hey, if I drop dead on stage, then what the heck? I dropped dead. That attitude really helped him short-circuit the loop of fearful thinking. Whew. Okay, so the one move sounds really powerful for those acute panic attacks in the moment, but what about that lingering background anxiety? The generalized anxiety disorder, or GAD, that feeling of constantly being maybe a 6 or 7 out of 10 on the anxiety scale, just simmering beneath the surface. The guide assures us that GAD is fundamentally a behavioral condition. It's not some kind of fixed clinical illness, and it absolutely can be reversed.
Yes, exactly. The message is your brain is fine, your body is fine. It's learned a pattern of anxious response.
Yeah.
And the Panic Away program offers several powerful tools that can help you eliminate this underlying anxiety too, help you return to a state of peace and tranquility.
Okay, tool number 1, eliminating anxious thinking or intrusive thoughts. These thoughts cause us distress, mainly because of our reaction to them, not because the thoughts themselves are inherently dangerous or true. The guide uses this image. Imagine thoughts just floating around you. The ones you pay attention to, the ones you react to, they gravitate closer. If you react emotionally, especially with fear, the thought kind of sticks like glue to your psyche.
And studies have actually shown that actively trying to suppress a thought, push it away, only makes it rebound even more frequently later on. It backfires. So the trick, the guide suggests, is to change your attitude towards these thoughts. When a fearful thought comes up, don't try to push it away, don't fight it. Instead, just tell yourself it's fine. It can hang out, it can play in your mind if it wants, but you're not going to give it any special notice or react with fear. You recognize it's unrealistic, it's just noise. You could even try giving the fearful thought like cartoon characteristics. Imagine Donald Duck telling you something awful is going to happen in his squeaky voice. It kind of reduces its power, its threat level. As a complementary exercise, something to build a more positive cycle, the guide suggests a visualization exercise. It's quite simple. Just close your eyes, bring your attention to your heart area. Imagine a feeling of warmth there. Then start focusing on things you genuinely appreciate in your life, big or small. Your family, your health, your home, maybe your work, a pet. Keep doing this until you feel a genuine sense of gratitude rising up. Notice that positive emotional shift. Research from places like the Heart Math Institute supports this. Generating positive emotions actually sends signals to the brain that help higher brain centers work better, which can lower blood pressure and reduce tension.
Okay, tool number 2, diet. This seems pretty fundamental. The guide says there's perhaps no quicker way to start reducing general anxiety levels than improving your eating and drinking habits. Let's start with water. Apparently, something like 75% of Americans are chronically dehydrated. Even just mild dehydration can slow your metabolism down and is a major trigger for daytime fatigue. The guide even connects dehydration to that awful hangover fear some people get and suggests it can contribute to panic attacks. So the simple recommendation is aim for about 8 glasses of fresh water every day. And when it comes to food, the guide suggests many people have a generally acidic diet, which might lower our resistance to stress. The goal proposed is to shift towards an 80% alkaline diet. That means really focusing on fruits and raw vegetables. It's prioritizing things like leafy greens, lots of different fruits, root vegetables like parsnips, rutabagas, cauliflower, foods that help calm your system down. And related to that, don't forget minerals. These are absolutely essential for balancing your body's pH and for proper nervous system function. Magnesium, for instance, is involved in like 270 different biochemical reactions in the body. Sodium and potassium are vital for nerve function. Supplements might be worth considering if your diet alone isn't providing enough, partly because modern soil depletion has unfortunately reduced the mineral content in many vegetables.
And there's ongoing research linking diet and mental health too, isn't there? Like
Yeah.
looking at gluten-free diets for conditions like schizophrenia. It's a growing field.
Definitely. So diet is key. Tool number 3, exercise. This is a wonderful all-around practice for getting the upper hand on stress and anxiety. And think about it. Many of the physical symptoms of a panic attack, the increased heartbeat, the sweating, the rapid breathing, they're actually quite similar to the feelings you get during a good workout.
Yeah, that's a great point. Vigorous exercise actually teaches your body and your mind to be comfortable with being in a heightened state of exertion. It helps you push your boundaries safely and builds confidence in your body's ability to handle strenuous levels. It's like a healthy, self-imposed stress that allows you to release all that pent-up tension. The guide recommends aiming for about 20-30 minutes of good cardiovascular exercise regularly. And there's research, like from Mark Sothman, PhD, suggesting exercise actually fuels the brain's stress buffers by forcing all our physiological systems, heart, lungs, brain, to communicate more closely and efficiently.
Okay, tool number 4, distraction. This might sound simple, but it's effective. To move away from that constant state of generalized anxiety, the advice is to throw yourself 100% into whatever you're doing. Get absorbed. Especially stimulating physical activities like gardening, playing a musical instrument, engaging in sports. This really immerses you in life, in the present moment, and takes your attention away from those uncomfortable internal sensations.
Volunteer work is mentioned as a particularly fantastic form of distraction. It can really improve self-esteem and help shake off feelings of isolation that often accompany anxiety. Basically, distraction helps you refocus your attention outwards, away from concentrating on internal discomfort. It's like cutting the film loop of anxious thoughts that might be running in your mind. It brings you directly into the here and now, and that allows your body and mind some crucial relaxation time, even if you don't realize it.
All right, and the 5th tool mentioned is thought field therapy, TFT. Now, the guide admits this one sounds a little strange at first, but describes it as a revolutionary natural treatment for emotional distress.
Yeah, TFT works by accessing and resolving emotional problems through tapping specific points on the body. It's based on the same principles as acupuncture, stimulating the body's energy system, sometimes called ki or meridians. In TFT theory, emotions are seen as condensed information in energy form. And by tapping on these specific energy meridian points while thinking about the anxiety, you can apparently eliminate the negative emotion and the physical symptoms associated with it. The guide claims the results can be almost instantaneous. Now, we can't walk through the whole complex sequence right here on this deep dive. It involves tapping under the eye, under the arm, the collarbone point, and then a more complex gamut procedure. But the core idea is that this specific tapping sequence disrupts the emotional charge of the anxiety or panic. The guide provides the full instructions and suggests that the results people feel are often pretty clear evidence of its effectiveness, often leading not just to short-term relief, but sometimes, reportedly, complete elimination of the distress related to specific triggers.
Okay, that's quite a toolkit. Now, a really common question people have is about medication. If you are currently on anti-anxiety medication, first off, well done for seeking medical advice and help. That's important. The Panic Away Guide certainly acknowledges the benefits of medication, stating it's helped thousands of people regain a fulfilled life.
Yes, it does. The potential danger that the guide highlights, though, is overdependence, where maybe even just the thought of forgetting to take your medication is enough to trigger panic. Good medical advice, it suggests, Usually includes a plan for gradually decreasing the dosage as you improve using other methods, like the ones we've discussed. But always, always in consultation with your doctor. Never change medication on your own. The guide also mentions natural alternatives like Bach herbal remedies as potential options. These are generally less addictive and tend to have fewer side effects. They work more subtly on the underlying state of mind. Things like rock rose for feelings of terror or the well-known rescue remedy for more general anxiety or shock. So the goal isn't necessarily to demonize medication if it's genuinely helping you function, but perhaps to work towards a recovery that relies less and less on any external crutches over time.
Right, because the ultimate goal, the guide proposes, is a recovery that's independent of any crutches, whether that's alcohol, medication, or even relying heavily on an understanding partner or friend to get you through. True self-reliance. So, wrapping this all up, what does it all mean? Panic attacks can really attack our inner strength, can't they? They leave us feeling depleted of confidence. But the techniques we've explored in this deep dive, particularly from Panic Away, are designed to help replenish that courage, rebuild that inner resilience.
Absolutely. Think about it. Your character, your sense of self, it's determined largely by your memories of past experiences. Things like passing a stressful exam, getting a job you really wanted. But also, crucially, all those times you thought you might completely lose yourself to a panic attack. But you survived. You got through it. Even if you felt you couldn't hold it together perfectly, your life didn't end. You suffered no serious physical harm. The panic attack came, it did its thing, and then, as always, it left. That experience, repeated over time, is actually your solid foundation upon which you can build renewed confidence.
The guide suggests playing that film again and again in your head. All the times panic attacks came and left, and you were ultimately unharmed. And with practice, maybe eventually unmoved by them, be proud of that survival. You are not a cowardly victim. You are a survivor of a genuinely terrifying internal experience. Maybe even write down these successes, these moments of getting through it, and read them regularly. Confidence, just like fear, can be contagious. And as you build it in this area, it will start to spread to all other areas of your life.
Definitely. By applying these techniques, these tools for both mind and body, you really can transition. Transition from a life that feels defined by fear to one characterized by courage and confidence. Your future really can be bright because you now have access to tools and perspectives that are genuinely changing lives. As the Panic Away Guide memorably puts it, when dealing with panic attacks, it really always is darkest before the dawn. There is hope.
So, as you reflect on this deep dive today, maybe just consider how much power you truly hold over your own inner world. If fear, at its core, is perhaps an illusion based on misinterpretation, what other illusions in your life might just be waiting for you to call their bluff?